I think a lot of people hear this word extraordinary and they feel like it's an unachievable thing, or it's only for rock stars or superstars or sports stars or something. To have inner potential and waste it, you can't get it back. It's gone. Like you could have done that, but instead you only did this. So I don't want to live my life like that. I always say that my superpower is the difference between having stress and wearing stress. Because when you have stress, it doesn't go away until the problem goes away.
This is the Relentless Pursuit of Winning podcast, where we are here to educate, equip, and inspire people to build extraordinary companies. We're so glad you're here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so that you can get updates every time we drop a new episode. Now let's get it started. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Relentless Pursuit of Winning podcast. My name is Rick Meekins, and I am your host as usual. In the studio, we've got Jake Lawson. Jake, how you doing, sir?
Man, I'm doing extraordinary today. How about yourself?
I am doing extraordinary myself. I love when you talk about extraordinary. You know what? That's what this episode is going to be about, how to live in an extraordinary way. And I absolutely love that topic, you know?
You know I love it. This is my way of life. This is all I preach day in and day out. So, I could talk about it all day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Outstanding. Outstanding. Folks, you are in for a good one, as Mr. Steve Harvey would say. So without further ado, let's get into it. Jake, you want to give us a little bit of breakdown, who you are and what you do?
Yeah, I'm Jacob Lawson. I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. Been an entrepreneur most of my life. Started real early, but been a business owner since my early 20s. Still in my early 40s now. So over 20 years, been a business owner, multiple businesses, but my primary business is Extraordinary Flooring, where we do commercial, industrial, and residential epoxy and polished concrete flooring. So we're specialty flooring contractors. We don't do the traditional tile, wood, and marble, that kind of deal. We've got a specialty niche. Polished concrete and epoxy coatings is our primary focus. So we've been that for 20 plus years. Name of the business is Extraordinary Flooring. That's how this whole extraordinary way of life was born, transitioning into this business. And, over the past few years, it has become more than just a business model, but a way of life.
Very nice. Very nice. Tell me something. How did you get the bug, the entrepreneurial bug? Where'd you get started?
I was always a hustler. I always worked. Before even I would make any money for working, I'd just be a good worker, and weeding the garden, or, the neighbors were doing some work. I'd come over and I'd just help them work, there's a big pile of dirt to shovel. Let's go. I'll get it, So I always just worked pretty naturally. And then early on, call it 10, 11 years old, I started wanting things. And we grew up in a very moderate, lower middle class income. Definitely weren't poor. We definitely didn't have no extra money. I started telling my mom about some things that I wanted, and she's like, "You want this, that, and that? You go out and get it." And I'm like, "Well, how are you supposed to do that?" She's like, "Call this one up, call this one up, call this one up. See what they got for you to do. Don't matter. Wash their cars, clean their garage, clean out their attic, whatever they got for them. Cut their grass. Go do it." And so I started doing that. And once I started collecting some money, that it was off to the races. Once I could put this work ethic to work and earn some money on it, then, that's what it was. It never stopped from there.
Nice. Well, so Jake, what was your first business? What was the first business you made kind of official?
First business officially was my record label, Falcon Entertainment.
Record
I
label.
had dreams of becoming a hip hop superstar, me and a couple friends of mine. So Falcon Entertainment was the name. I had a friend of mine, Chris Falcon, and he kind of was the visionary behind it, and I was the money man and the hustle behind it. And we had fun, man. We had fun. We did some cool things. We did some big shows. We did all of the big areas, all the big places around here: Tipitina's, Twiropa, House of Blues. We'd kind of pack the smaller rooms, which was very cool. And it was definitely, part of my hustling spirit, where it's, we'd have a show coming up and I would be promoting and hustling the crap out of it and try to pack those rooms. I'd hustle it and promote, get them there. My trick was having a very, very good VIP guest list of all of the beautiful ladies in the area. That was the rule. Bring the girls, the guys will follow.
1 + 1 just equals 2.
That's it. That's it. Bring the girls, the guys will follow. My partner didn't quite get it. She's like, "You're letting all these girls in for free." I said, "Watch all the guys that come because of it."
I hear you.
So that
Wow.
was the first. That was the first business. That
And
was
so what
it.
happened to that?
Eventually it kind of fizzled out. We made some moves, but it didn't look like the superstardom was in our future. And things changed. Things started growing. I started my other business. Started my flooring business and had a fiance on the way, had a baby on the way. Just kind of faded out. We took our shot at it. We made some cool things happen. Still got an album on Spotify that you can listen to today, which is just pretty cool stuff. And still not ashamed of what I said 20 plus years ago. Had some pretty clever stuff and pretty good hip hop connoisseur type thing. So, it was just part of the chapter, one of the chapters in the life.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, that's awesome. What was the biggest thing? What's the biggest takeaway or lesson learned from that experience?
Reach for it. If you've got it in you, you've got something in your heart telling you, man, I want to try this. I want to pursue this. I want to take a shot at this. You got to do it. Win, lose, or draw. You're gonna get something out of it. You're gonna learn something. You're gonna grow from something. And even if it's just some experiences that you have in your back pocket that you get to smile about, maybe tell the grandkids about, try it. Because other than that, all you'll have is regret.
Hmm.
Oh, I thought about doing that. Oh, yeah, one time I wanted to do that.
Hmm.
Right? The only thing you can have is regret if you don't try it.
Yep.
But if you do try it, not now, either the best possible scenario can happen for you, or you learn a few things along the way. What's the worst can happen? The worst can happen is you don't do it. You don't try it, and you just, what do they say? The richest place in the world is the graveyard where all the ideas go to die. It didn't happen, right? Like
Yeah.
you got to give it a shot,
Yeah, yeah. So question for you. I mean, a lot of times when I ask that question, people say, it's like, oh, this bad thing happened. And, I learned this lesson because this bad thing happened. I'm not going to let this bad thing happen again. But you come to it from a very different perspective. You're like, hey, jump in. You come to it from a very, I don't know, optimistic, pragmatic perspective. I mean, what gives you that mindset? Because it sounds like that's something that you've had for a very long time.
Well, I would say that that perspective will get you winning in life because no matter if it's a positive or negative thing, there's always a lesson learned from it, right? So, how many people can be like, woe is me because some problem happened, some misfortune happened, something that, was opposite of what they were trying to happen. And they could sit there and dwell on it and complain about it and cry to somebody about it. Or they can sit there and learn the lesson from it. What happened from it? What did I learn from this? And the thing I always try to say is it's actually one of the chapters in my book. Didn't happen to me, it happened for me. So
Mm,
you have to take those lessons, you have to take those licks, and you learn from those things and you grow from those things. There's no
mm,
super successful people in this world, entrepreneur, whatever it is, that haven't learned the lessons and bumps and bruises, the scars from getting licked from some sort of lesson that they learned the hard way.
yeah.
You got to take those things in stride, man, and get smarter from them. If there is one business lessons I had to learn from that is partnerships. That was the earliest lesson in partnership. You got to choose your partners wisely, and you got to spend some time with it. Partnership should be like, it's kind of like marriage. You could spend more time with your partner than you do with your wife or husband. So when you first meet and you first have all of these crazy and great ideas and all the chemistry is there and everything. Oh, we're gonna be hip hop superstars and this, that, and the other. Yeah, it's like romance, right? It's like infatuation. You have this infatuated feeling, right? But over time, you start to get to know the strengths and weaknesses of your partner. When really you need to know that before you dive in all the way head first, before you sign on a dotted line, before you really make those huge commitments. Because, in my case, the partner I had, we had all of these great intentions and he had great skill sets in that. And he knew a lot more about the hip hop game than I knew. I didn't know anything about the hip hop game. I knew how to rap and I knew how to hustle. And he knew a lot more about that game. But my hustle was 10 times at the least extent of his, and you could only carry somebody so long. And if they don't have an equal thing to equal out or balance, And it's going to be hard, it's going to be real hard when you feel like you're the only one putting in the work and the effort and the other person's kind of sitting back, right? So you got to make sure that you have some sort of equal partnership, and where you're weak, they should be strong, and where they're weak, you should be strong. If something that should balance it out, right? But if you don't spend some time in court, that partner the same way you would court a relationship, then you dive in head first and then you find out later, and then it typically is hard to do. I've seen so many partnerships just don't balance out for that reason. One person has a crazy work ethic and the other person doesn't, and it's like you start getting those bad feelings and this, that, and the other. And a lot of times I've seen that happen in partnerships where the best partnerships have these opposite skill sets that balance each other out, that are
Mhm.
equal to each other in some form or shape, or they might have two or three skill sets that equal this one skill set, but like you take one away and it don't work, right? And you take the other one away, it doesn't work, or you put them together that really work, right? That's the best partnerships.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I love that. I love that. So with your experience with, and I'm still thinking about your mindset. So we all get backed in, as entrepreneurs, we all get backed into corners, and it's like you lay down and die or you fight your way out. Do you have a particular process or something you go through when you get back in that corner and that you've got to push forward, you've got to make stuff happen? Is there something or steps that go through your mind and say, okay, I got to do this, 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 and this, and then we'll be back to a place where we can at least operate?
Well, as entrepreneurs, we tend to back ourselves into a lot of corners, and most of us don't have any choice but to fight your way out, right? That's why a lot of times, a lot of people say it's better to take those riskier chances a little bit earlier on, because you can kind of afford to take some of those missteps. And then the older and the more comfortable you get, or the more set you're set with, whatever payments you're getting from a company or this and that and the other, it's a lot harder to take those risks, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, when you have no choice, you got no choice but to fight your way out. But what I say is my superpower is that when all is going haywire, when you are feeling beat up and everything is not going your way, and the written you just don't even know which way to turn. I always say that my superpower is the difference between having stress and wearing stress is a huge superpower of mine, because when you have the stress, it's hard to get rid of it. It doesn't go away until the problem goes away, right?
Mhm.
The problems might not go away instantaneously. A lot of times it takes time to dig your way out of those problems. What I tell people, especially when I talk to like younger entrepreneurs, is like there's a difference between having stress and wearing stress, letting the weight of that stress weigh your body down, right? It feels like a wet blanket, right? So one of my superpowers is no matter what the stress is I'm going through, when I do check it off, when I check off from the day, I let it check off from the day, and I
Mhm.
get my sleep, and then I wake up and I go at it 100% tomorrow, because that's the only thing that's going to change it. It's stressing never is going to fix anything, right? The only thing that can change it is those positive steps that you're going to take to start pulling yourself out of those problems. So to sit here and wear the stress will weigh on you like a wet blanket, and it'll wear you slap out. You'll be defeated before you even start, because you stressed all night. You didn't get any sleep. You didn't do anything. And what did the stress get you? Nothing. Stressing about it never changes anything, right? The only thing that changes it is the positive steps that you need to take the next day. Everything that you got the next day. That's the only thing you can do. So stressing over it today about what may or may not happen tomorrow is not solving anything. So the difference between having stress up here and wearing it is huge. And if you can turn out how to change that, then just know that tomorrow I'm going to wake up and I'm going to put forth my best efforts to dig out of whatever the situation is. And that's the only thing you can do. And when you have faith in yourself, you have faith in the man up above, just believe that you're going to make it through. Like, you just can't quit. Like, you can't quit. Just have faith in yourself, and we're all going to go through it. But you'll dig your way out of it if you just have faith, don't stress, move forward. Only thing you can change is the positive steps that you can change. You cannot change the what ifs, the maybes, all of these scenarios going on in your head. Focus on the things in front of you that you can change and do
Love it.
those.
How do you know? And how do you know when to take a break? I mean, you've been grinding,
your whole life. And I know, just being human, there's got to be some time where you've got to just like back up away from it and say, you know what, I need a week off or a month off or something like that. What's that look like for you?
In the beginning, you don't have much choice. In the beginning, you got to grind, right? In the beginning, you can always plan that vacation, right? And those feel like all I can think about is the Young Jeezy song. I need a vacation. I can remember those days where I just you needed one, and you planned one because of whatever the family thing was, or that and the other, and you took it then, right? But eventually, the more that you build your business, the more that you build your team around you, the the more that you don't need this vacation. I'm so blessed that I'm in the position. I mean, we're 20 years deep into the game. We've got a booming business, and yeah, we've got problems and stresses and things we got to deal with every day. But luckily, I've now built my team around me that I do have that balance. I grind during the day as hard as I physically can and get everything I can done. By the time I do get home, it might be 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, whatever. I turn it off and I play with my kids a little bit, and I do a little bit for my mental, and I spend some time with my family, right? So when you start building that team around you to where you're not carrying every single part of the load, and then you don't necessarily back yourself into that corner where I need a vacation. The goal is to build your business to where you don't need a vacation from it. When you take a vacation, great, but you don't need one from it. So that's the beautiful thing. That's the end goal. Build that team to support you so that you're putting forth all that effort when and where you need to, but you're not stressing yourself out and driving yourself crazy that you need a vacation. Ideally, to me, that's one of the levels of success when you build the life that you don't need a vacation from. Thank God I'm blessed to be in that position.
Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So let's dive into this extraordinary piece. So you named your company, the flooring company. You named that Extraordinary Flooring. Is that the original name?
It always comes up. No, it's not the original name. The original name was Big Jake's Affordable Flooring. Big Jake was the hip hop name, and I come up under one of my mentors, Jeremy LeBlanc, big brother of mine, not by blood, but by love. And he's the one that taught me traditional flooring, wood, tile, marble, that kind of thing. And he always worked on like high end houses and nice jobs and nice houses, right? When I started working for him full time, I knew I wasn't going to be able to stay working for him full time because I had a family on the way. I had a brand new house. I had bills, more bills than I wanted to even ask him to try to afford to pay me. Right. So when I broke off on my own, I said, well, how can I do something different that's not stepping on my mentor's toes? And Big Jake's Affordable Flooring is what I came up with. People that wanted affordable flooring is who were seeking me out, and that's not exactly the clientele that I wanted. So early on, we were getting people looking for the cheapest flooring possible and doing the cheapest jobs, and none of that excited anything about what I was doing. I was doing crappy bathrooms, crappy apartments, things of that nature, and none of that was exciting. None of that felt extraordinary. And one day in the back of his van, I was doing some pickup work with him, and we were coming home at the end of the day. And I said, aha, I got the new name of my business. And he's like, what? I said, Extraordinary Friend. And it's like, I don't know about that, I don't know about that, young buck, I don't know what's too extraordinary about what you're doing right now. I said, it don't matter. This is the name of my business. And that changed everything. That changed. Within 6 months, we were doing, call it God's divine timing, God's intervention, desire, hope streams, everything like that changed everything. We started landing big contractors, big, beautiful houses, big jobs, and really started doing extraordinary flooring. Like it wasn't just a name. Like we were doing these exquisite backsplashes and these exquisite, bathrooms and just beautiful artwork, not just laying tile, like not doing flooring. We were doing extraordinary flooring. And so that blossomed and that became our way of life, and that became our reality. We were doing that type of work all the time. So that was the business motto. Why make it ordinary when you can have extraordinary? And so that was just a business model for quite some time, 15, 20 years. And as I started tying in some other pieces in my life, other than just the business, it started to feel more like a way of life, not just a business model. So once I started tying in being a better leader, being a better father, being a better husband, being in control of my body, being in shape, being in healthy, that's when life started feeling extraordinary. And that's when I started clicking. It's like, all right, when you start putting all of these things together, that's the difference. Like we all can feel good, right? We can feel good and we can have moments in our life that make us feel great,
Mhm.
but we're not feeling great all the time
Mhm.
because there's typically something missing, you know? Health, wealth, relationships are typically the main thing, and purpose, are my four keys that I say that'll be the change. When you have all four of those kicking,
Mhm.
that's when you start feeling extraordinary.
Uh-huh.
And once I started tying in those four, that's when my life started feeling extraordinary. On a regular day, it didn't have to be in the Bahamas to feel extraordinary. It didn't have to be having this monumental moment like holding your kid for the first time, right? That's when life started feeling extraordinary. And I said, all right, Jake, you're onto something here. This is a shift. You had a great life before, but
Uh-huh.
now you're feeling extraordinary. And this is a difference. And it's up here. And once you get all of these four things kicked in,
What's your purpose and how did you
so um along this time, started growing as a leader, started putting into personal developments. It started trying to grow as a person. I knew I needed to support the team that I had, to grow my business the way I had the potential to grow it. So I started getting more into self-development, and at first it was just business self-development. Then it was like, all right, Jake, you need to do some personal development as well. And you need to get your health in order, because I was always a guy that worked out. I always ate reasonably healthy, but in New Orleans, you can eat reasonably healthy 80% of the time, and 20% will wreck everything you thought you just did. So although I always worked out and I always ate reasonably healthy between partying and drinking and eating whatever you wanted over the weekends, would typically negate most of the stuff I did. And almost every year, I'd have to shed 20 or 40 pounds for the summer, right? Take off that winter coat, is I'd used to say, right? So I also knew that this is not a healthy lifestyle to continue yo-yoing this, and you can't do this forever. You're only getting older, and it's only going to get harder to do. So if you don't change your lifestyle for the better, as far as health goes, it's a cycle that you're going to end up losing to. And so I tried to do that on my own, and it worked okay. And then I said, you know what, let me get some help. Let me get a coach. Let me get a trainer. Let me get somebody to help me. And I got one, and guy's name's Jay Ferrugi at Renegade Fitness. And I thought I was just signing up with him to get in shape, to get that best shape of my life body.
Mhm.
And I got a whole lot more with him. I got some serious mindset shifts and some different perspectives on way more than just sets and reps and macros. And I didn't know that was going to happen. And one of the things that really changed and anchored in that purpose for me, we did a weekend retreat. It was me and him and maybe 10 other guys, kind of same thing as me, successful business guys over 40. And he asked a question, and it was, what do you want it to say on your tombstone? And it took me a while to think, and I was sitting here, and other people started going around the room, and they were like, I'm the best father, I'm the best friend, I'm the best husband, I'm the this, I'm the that, I'm the that. And, although I want to be all of that, that wasn't what was resonating with me.
Mm.
And what came to me was he was a conduit for personal evolution.
Wow.
And that stuck with me. And as I started dissecting that and thinking about it, and thinking about how I've been kind of naturally a leader almost my whole life, coming up in sports and everything else, I've always been this encouraging person that was trying to get people to do more, like in wrestling and stuff like that. As a teammate for any of the sports I would do, I'd always be encouraging people more than like a normal kid. Like, I'd almost be coaching, but not a coach. I'm a kid, but I was always that guy trying to get somebody encouraged to do a little more. And so as I started thinking about that, I'm like, this is your calling. This is something you've always done naturally, and you have this ability and you have this inner desire to see people improve, and so that's what started shifting for me. And that's what cemented in and actually clearly defined the purpose part of it. Like that's where I was like, that's not just something that's just some natural thing you do, but it's a purpose for you, and it's if that's what's on my tombstone, I'm winning.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I love it. So how do you, when you're making decisions or you're interacting with other people, or you're thinking about, planning in your business or something like that, how does your purpose, if it does, play into your overall thinking as you're just going about life, if you will?
I mean, it's a motto that is very easily translate to almost anything and everything you do. You can do it ordinary or you can try to make it extraordinary.
Hmm.
And while that's just been a flooring motto forever, now it's my life motto. And it's something that I'm trying to get people to break down a little bit because I think a lot of people hear this word extraordinary and they feel like it's an unachievable thing or it's only for rock stars or superstars or sports stars or something. When really the definition is putting extra in front of ordinary. You can take an ordinary effort and you'll never get noticed for it. Or you can do something extraordinary and people will notice for it. You know, you can be a painter and paint a
Uh-huh.
wall. Ain't nobody gonna ask who painted that wall. You can be an artist and paint a mural. People are gonna ask who painted that mural. So you can do something ordinary and not be noticed at all for it, or you can put forth some extra effort into whatever it is your talent is, and somebody's gonna notice it.
Mhm.
That's the difference between ordinary and extraordinary. It's not this unachievable thing that is only for select people in this world. Everybody is capable of doing something extraordinary.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What is the biggest impact you think you've made on someone's life, really getting them to think differently about, evolving from, that ordinary mindset to the extraordinary mindset?
Right now I'm in the doing stage and I'm just doing. I'm doing what's called in my heart. I'm not doing it for any other purpose other than I feel that I'm called to do it.
Mm.
So whether it's the videos that I do, the podcasts that I do, the work that I put forth, the work that I put in the gym, the work that I put forth in my family, I'm doing it because that's what I'm called to do. No other reason. I believe and I know that I'm going to get other benefits from that, but I'm only doing it because I'm feel that I'm called to do it and I have the potential to do it. So to have inner potential and waste it is wasted. Like you can't get it back. It's gone. Like you could have done that, but instead you only did this.
Yeah.
So I don't want to live my life like that. I want to use all of the potential that I have.
Yeah.
And while I'm doing that, I'm inspiring others. And
Yeah.
sometimes it feels like you can go a long way and not get any recognition or somebody saying that they're inspired. And then a little here, a little there, out of the blue, you'll get a call or you'll run into somebody and they'll tell you, man, you are inspiring me. You've inspired me to start working out. You've inspired me to speak up. You've
Mm.
inspired me to become a better leader. You've inspired me to become a better this. And when I start getting those, it's goosebumps. And they're always out of the blue. And, I kind of call them, like God's little signals that are just telling me, just keep doing what you're doing, Jake. Just keep following your heart, keep following your mission. And everything that's supposed to happen is going to happen. Just keep shooting for it. Just keep shooting from the hip, keep shooting from the heart, and it's going to happen. And I've had so many, for instances, the coolest ones are when it's people that I look up to
Mhm.
that tell me I've inspired them to do something.
Mhm.
That's like, dude, I look up to you. And you just told me that you're looking up to me. Like, that's like the coolest feeling ever. Right. So
Uh,
those are some of those ones that like, Jake, just keep going. Just
mhm.
keep going. Keep trusting your heart. Listen to your heart. Listen to your soul. It's telling you. Listen to your conscience. It's telling you what to do. Like, don't disrespect it. Listen to it. Go for it. Don't be scared. Just go. What's the worst can happen? Most of our hearts and consciences aren't giving us life or death situations. They may be a little risky, but they're not normally life or death situations. So don't be scared. Follow it. Listen to it.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome. That's awesome. Um, you wrote a book. You want to talk about your book a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. The book is Make It Extraordinary 27 Life Changing Lessons to Help You Elevate Beyond the Ordinary. So basically, I had a calling. I had one of those moments that just said, Jake, write a book. Something was telling me, write a book. And I'm like, I was writing about 40. Actually, I wrote the rough draft of it the week of my 40th birthday. And I just had one of those callings that said, Jake, you can write a book. And I'm like, what you gonna write a book about? Like most of the books I read are like these super successful people that, are giving me, their how I made it to the top lessons. And I'm like, yeah, everything's relative, right? Compared to many, I've done a lot of things. Compared to the people I look up to, I haven't done nothing. So everything's relative. But, I was like, I don't need to wait till I'm 50 to write this book. I want to write it about the extraordinary process, the process that has gotten me where I've at. I said, but at the same time, I'm still figuring out this extraordinary process. I'm still working on this extraordinary process. So what can I share right now? And the answer was, what are the biggest lessons you've learned in your life? Not just the biggest lessons, but what were the life changing lessons? What were the lessons that made you take this next path, made you take a right instead of going the way you were going? Like, what were the lessons that changed your life? And so the number 27 has no strategic meaning other than these are the amount of lessons that I feel that changed my life. These are the lessons that made these changes in my life that got me where I am right here today. And so I wrote them. They're in chronological order. It's a bunch of short stories. The beginning of them has the prerequisite of the lesson. The end of the chapter has the the cementing in of what that lesson is and how you can utilize that. And in between's a little short story. And I've got the good, the bad, and the ugly in there. All of the things that were life lessons that changed me. So we've got some simple childhood lessons to teenage lessons to early entrepreneur lessons to later entrepreneur lessons. I kind of call them the blessed ones, the ones that people just blessed you with those lessons, the lessons that you had to learn the hard way, right? Because you learn something the hard way, and those are normally the ones that stick with you because you got spanked some kind of way, or the expensive lessons, the lessons that I paid to get around the mentors, the ones that I paid to get in those rooms and those masterminds and those different areas to be around those people that have already been there and have already done that, and they're teaching something, so kind of call those the expensive ones, but those are the ones that help you elevate. I kind of call them kind of leapfrogging moments, instead of you taking these baby steps and learning everything the hard way, you start taking these lessons from the mentors above you, and now you can start leapfrogging. You can skip a few levels. By writing that book, I'm hoping that I can do the same for many other people that may be wanting to start their own business or maybe wanting to do something that's calling them to make them feel more extraordinary, right? And I'm hoping that I can leapfrog a few people, from maybe not making some of the same mistakes I made, or by like, hey, he did this and that's what got him here, right? So, in hopes that's what it is. And also hopefully it's, it's entertaining, it's relatable. Everybody's got some things that are similar to that, like, oh yeah, that makes me think of this, that makes me think of that one, right? Or I'd never thought of that happening, right? Essentially that's what it is. 27 life-changing lessons to help you elevate beyond the ordinary. And it's the lessons that I learned up until my 40th birthday that changed my life to where I am today.
I love it. I love it. Jake, what is something you want the audience to walk away with? What is something you want them to remember this show by, or just put into their lives so they can be on that path to winning or continue on that path to winning?
Yeah. So, like I said earlier, the 4 pillars: health, wealth, relationships, and purpose. Health is the easiest one to get you started, and it goes with everything, right? If you're not in the best shape you could be, or even close to the shape that you can be, it's kind of hard to feel optimal. It's hard to feel optimal when you're not, and that means in your body, right? So health is the easiest one that jump started everything else for me, and can jumpstart everybody else. And everybody's capable of getting healthier, right? No matter what level you're at, whether you don't do anything to help your body or you've been doing it your whole life, everybody has the ability to get a little healthier. And very hard to feel like crap when you're optimally healthy, right? So that's one. Wealth can be 2 things. It can be spiritual and it can be financial. And I believe you need them both. You don't need to be wealthy, but you need to have some money. Life is pretty hard to enjoy yourself when you're broke, right? So you need some money. It's up to you to determine how much money you need. That's up to you. That's a personal choice. And then, spirituality. I'm not devout to any one religion other than I believe in God. I believe in the power up above. I believe that you should treat everybody right. You should have good karma. You should have good presence. You should do the right thing, and the right things will happen to you. And however you want to take that spiritually and dig into your own version of it, that's you. Just but be spiritual about it. Feel what's in your heart and go with it. Right? Relationships. You got your health in line. You got your money in line. You got some good spirit going on, and you got nobody to share it with. How fun is that? How well can you enjoy all of that, those blessings, if you don't have some good relationships to share it with, right? So these are the things that all tie it in. And then purpose. You don't need a change the world purpose. But if you have a purpose, whatever that is for you, it gives you a reason to do all of the things that aren't just easy, right? It gives you the reason to go work out when you don't feel like working out, to make a healthier choice when you don't feel like a healthier choice, to go and do that extra work to get that promotion, that raise, that job you're looking for, whatever that is, to elevate your finances, and go put yourself out there, and whether you're making new friends or new clients or whatever it is, right? To make those relationships, right? When you have a purpose, it gives you a drive. It's like a carrot always dangling in front of you. It gives you that reason to do the extra effort. And so you put all four of those together, and not saying that you're not going to have bad days. Everybody's going to have bad days. Everybody's going to have bad times, bad moments. You could have tragedies in your life. You could have all of these things. But if you've got all of those other things in line, then you're going to get past those bad moments, and you're going to be living an extraordinary life. And what I tell people is, it's completely up to you what your version of extraordinary is. It's not up to me. What my version is my version. What your version is your version. It's completely up to you. So what do you got to do? You got to define that version. What is that definition of an extraordinary life feel like to you? If it's having a six pack and a bunch of zeros in your bank account and good family, then great. If it's just being healthier than I am, and a couple months of reserves in my bank account, and three friends, and my dog's my best friend, that's your version of the extraordinary life. Like, whatever that is to you, it is, but define it. Don't just be aimless in life and like whatever happens, happens, whatever comes. I don't think anybody lives an extraordinary life who doesn't have some sort of purpose, some sort of drive, some sort of goal, some sort of direction that they're heading. To those people, I do believe the extraordinary is unachievable, because it's like, what are you striving for? What are you going for? You have no direction. You're just kind of floating adrift, right? Finding what that is, finding what that version of you and your family and your life looks like. And then now you've got a purpose. That's the purpose. If nothing else, that's the purpose. You don't have to change the world. Find out what that purpose is for you, and hopefully your family, right? And then go for it, right? That's a purpose. That's all you need.
Very nice, very nice. You've got a download that folks can get from your website. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's simple. It's extraordinary life checklist. It's a simple checklist that gets you started on that. Like I said, the number one thing is really defining what that extraordinary is to you. What does that feel like? What would that look like? And go as deep as you want on it, and go as intricate as you want to go. But if you don't define what you're looking for, then how are you going to achieve it? You're just drifting, right? So it's the extraordinary life checklist. It's a simple checklist that you could start clearly defining what it is that would make you and your life extraordinary, right? So extraordinary life checklist, you can get it on Make It Extraordinary .com. You can hit me up on Make It Extraordinary, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of the above, right? And DM me, and we'll get you that checklist. And it's something to start putting it down on paper, setting those goals, looking at them. Like, if you can't envision it, you can't achieve it. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, buddy. Great, Jake. Thank you so much. This has been a pleasure. I really appreciate. I really appreciate all the pearls you've dropped. I mean, this has been inspirational for me as well. So I thank you so much for that.
Man, I've been looking forward to this, Rick. It was so cool to be on here, and it was so cool that we had somebody else that we didn't even know try to hook us up. Like, oh, you got to get on Rick's show. I'm like, yeah, I'll be on Rick's show next month. That was so cool when that happened.
Sir.
Circles, man. We're in the right circles. God's divine timing. It's all going to happen. We just got to keep following our heart, doing what our conscience and our heart and our soul is calling us to do. And, we're doing that work. You're doing that work. And I'm hoping that we're both inspiring other people to do that same work and find what their calling is and go out and make it extraordinary.
Outstanding. Folks, thank you so much for watching.
Pursuit of winning. Let's go.
Yes, sir. That's it right there. Folks, thank you so much for watching or listening to another episode of the Relentless Pursuit of Winning podcast. We will catch you next time.